Hello and welcome to this new section, Brand Design and Development, and also the first lecture of that in this course on Marketing Strategy Excellence. So in this module, what we will do now is how we look at how can you design and develop brand for your products, right? And in this module, we will talk about core four things. We will touch on what is strategic brand management. Then we'll talk about what about brands and branding. What are the various things that you do? Then we'll look at designing and creating brand value. In this particular lecture, we will talk about quickly about the strategic brand management and brands and branding in little more detail. Right? Ready for that? Right, great. So question is how can you develop brand and brandings? So that's the question we are answering in this module. So let's start with discussion on that. Any thoughts on that? How can you design and develop brand? So it all starts with strategic brand management, which is the process of combining the design and implementation of the marketing programs that can build, measure, and manage brands to maximize their value. Basically, four things in this: identifying, establishing brand positioning. And we looked at that in the earlier lecture and section on value proposition. So identifying the right value proposition. So that's where the linkage of brand building happens to. It is linked to a brand positioning or a value proposition. Then you go about planning and implementing brand marketing, and that's what we will talk about. Then measuring and interpreting brand performance and growing and sustaining brand value. So four key steps. So we won't talk about the first one because we have already covered in the value proposition. How do we create a winning value proposition? And we will take you through in this module about planning and implementing brand marketing, measuring, interpreting brand performance, and growing and sustaining brand value. So let's look at doing some basics. So what is a brand? So brand is a name, term, sign, symbol, design, or a combination of any of these that can identify your products and services, and it can differentiate them from your competitors. What is the purpose of the brand? It is the purpose of the brand is to create a value for your customers, its consumers, company, and collaborators, right? Remember those three target customers? So it creates the value. And what value does it create? We talked about that in the value proposition. And it goes beyond the value created by the product and service aspect of the offering. So this is the third part of your offering that creates value. First being product and service. What is the essence of branding? What is branding involved basically? It's a process of endowing your products and services with the power of the brand. And we will define the power of brand as we go forward. It's all about creating differences between your product and other competitors. The brand name and the other brand elements are used to inform customers who and what of the product and why should they care about listening, talking, engaging, and ultimately buying and keep buying this product. Now, what is effective branding? That effective branding is something that creates mental structure in the mind that helps consumers organize their product knowledge about your brand to help decision making, and it provides value to you as a company. And these are created through marketing programs, but ultimately resides in the minds and hearts of the customers, consumers. Now, what do you need to do to create brand values? Your consumers must be convinced of the meaningful differences between the brand, which is what you would have created in the value proposition. And these differences are often related to attributes and benefits, as we saw earlier. And the successful brands are seen as genuine and authentic in what they sell and who they are, right? So what is the role of the brands? It basically, brands identify the maker of the product and allow consumers to assign responsibility for its performance. So it fixes responsibility. And it performs a number of functions for both consumers and company. For consumer, it sets expectations and reduces risk for the consumer point of view, fulfills or exceeds these expectations, signals a certain level of quality based on what the perception is, simplifies their decision making. A branded decision making is easy, gives a personal meaning to brand. It means to me. This is what it means to me, and it becomes an important part of that identity. For company, it simplifies product handling. It predicts and secures the demand. It creates barriers to entries for competitors. gets a price premium. A company like Johnson and Johnson used to create 100% price premium through their Johnson's Baby branding. Means to secure a competitive advantage, which is in terms of either a price or a repetitive buying, and becomes a valuable piece of legal property that can be bought and sold. That's important to remember. How is this brand value created is captured through two concepts of brand equity and brand power. Let's look at each of these. Brand equity is the monetary value of the brand. It reflects the premium that is placed on the company's valuation because of the ownership of the brand. So if you have a and it basically is calculated as net present value of the total financial return that brand will generate over its lifetime. So it's a financial matter and a monetary value, as we say. The value of brand is not reflected in the company's books and could exceed its tangible assets, right? Because it's all about future stream of cash flows that will add value to the company. In accounting terms, it is treated as goodwill, which is the monetary value of all intangible assets of the company. So in the balance sheet, you will see this under the goodwill, and that will be combined thing for all the brands of the company holds. But goodwill is a much broader term than brand equity and includes both the value of company's brand and value of the company's other intangible assets, maybe the patents, trademarks, and kind of these things. How do you measure brand equity? There's no universally agreed method to assess it accurately. The several alternatives exist. The one is a cost plus approach in which you calculate brand equity by looking at the cost of developing the brand. Second is a market approach based on estimating the brand equity by measuring the differences between the revenues from a branded versus those of identical unbranded offering. So that's the value that you look at. Financial approach evaluates brand equity as the net present value of the brand's future earning. Three steps: computing the company's future cash flow, estimating the brand contribution to company's future cash flow, and adjusting the cash flow using a risk factor that accounts for the volatility of the earnings that are attributed to the brand. So that's how it is calculated. Let's look at the second concept of brand power. It is also referred as customer-based brand equity. Different words, but that's what it says, which is ancillary value attributed by the brand to a product or a service. So your product has certain value and that it delivers to the customer, and it's on top of that it delivers a value. It reflects the degree to which the brand influences the way consumers think, feel, and act with respect to the brand. And hence it is the differential effect the brand knowledge has on the consumer's response to the marketing of the brand. A positive brand power means consumers react more favorably and the way it is marketed. When the brand is not identified, then it is identified. The brand has negative power as consumers react less favorably to the marketing activity for a brand under the same circumstances, right? The power arises. Where does it arise from? It arises from differences in consumer response that the brand evokes. If no differences, again, branded products is essentially a commodity. There's no difference between this and a similar product. So both are commodities. Now, difference in responses are resulted from consumers' brand knowledge as well as the thoughts, feelings, images, experience, and beliefs associated with the brand. A commodity would have no such thing, no thoughts, feelings, images. Soap is a soap is a soap, but Lux is a beauty soap. It will beautify me. It will make me look very beautiful. So that's the differences. Brands thus create strong, favorable, and unique brand association. So brand association is the critical thing. If a product has no brand association, you could say it has no brand power. It is a commodity. It is reflected in perceptions, preferences, and behaviors related to all aspects of market of the brand. So perception, what do you think? What are the resultant preferences? And stronger brands earn greater revenue. So let's quickly run down the benefits of the brand power. It improves perception of the product performance. People think your product performs better, gives you greater loyalty, customers come back again and again. You are not vulnerable to competitive marketing actions. You can end crises. You get better margins. Your demand is more elastic to price decreases and inelastic to price increases. You get better trade support. Marketing communications have greater effectiveness. You get licensing opportunities, brand extension opportunities. Your improved employees recruitment and retention is better, and you get greater financial returns. Let us now look at about building brand power. So what are the ways, means, what is the thinking behind how can you build the brand power that can give you favorable perception, feelings, images, and behaviors? You need to ensure that customers have the right kind of experiences with your products, services, and marketing program so that you create desired thoughts, feelings, and brand knowledge in the consumer's mind. Also, you should think about marketing dollars spent on products as investment on consumer brand knowledge. It's critical to look at the quality of investment than the quantity. That brand knowledge will dictate appropriate direction for the brand by the consumer, right consumer behaviors. Consumers will decide based on what they think and feel about your brand and how they believe the brand should go and where they will or will not grant permission to any marketing action or program. Let us look at how can you measure brand power. There are two ways to measure brand power. Indirect approach assesses the sources, potential sources of brand power by identifying and tracking consumer brand knowledge. On the other hand, the direct approaches assesses the actual impact of brand knowledge in consumer response to different parts of marketing, different things that you do in marketing. For brand power to work, a useful strategic function and guide marketing decision, we need to understand two things: sources of brand power and how they will affect the outcome of interest, and how these sources and outcomes change, if at all, over a period of time. And that brings us to brand audits that are important for both and brand tracking for the later. Let us now look at what are brand audits. So these are series of procedures but focus to assess, to know the health of the brand, uncover its sources of brand equity, and suggest ways to improve and leverage its equity. You should conduct a brand audit when setting up marketing plans and when considering shifts in strategic direction. Ideally, a brand audit is good to be done every year practically, but at least once in 3 years. But every year is a better practice. On a regular basis, such as annually, will allow you to keep your fingers on the pulse of the brand so that you can manage them more proactively and responsibly. A good branded provides keen insights into consumers, brands, and relationship between the two. It basically uncovers all the association that the brand has. The brand tracking, on the other hand, what is it? It is brand tracking. The brand audit is used as input to collect quantitative data from consumers over time that provides consistent baseline information on how your brand and the marketing programs are doing. It can help you understand where to what degree, and what ways brand value is being created to facilitate day-to-day decision making. So having looked at the strategic brand management and what is a brand and different aspects of branding, what do we do next? In the next, having prepped ourselves, we get into how can you go about designing the brand in the next lecture. So thank you so much for watching this first lecture on brand design and development. I hope you're beginning to learn new things, beginning to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture.